How is it going, guys? It's Eclipse here and welcome back to World of Tanks, and of course we're looking at the update news for this week and we're going to get straight into it. There's a few things that you're going to want to be keeping a keen eye on in this next week of the update, and of course we'll cover some of the stuff that happened last week as well, since you might want to recap and you have a look at some of the tanks that were actually got buffed. Now, first thing that we're going to look at is, of course, give that brief overview of the tanks that got changed. Essentially, we have these vehicles on screen right now. They all got changed. They've all been buffed primarily. Some of them got a few little nerfs at the same time. They got buffs and nerfs at the same time to make them a slightly different. And of course, we'll be going through and reviewing some of these in the near future, starting off with the CDC, which will be tomorrow. So stay tuned. It's going to be an interesting one. The CDC being one of the vehicles that back in the day was pretty okay, and then it became slowly and slowly worse, and it's got a lot better now. So just stick about. We're going to come out with that review tomorrow, and hopefully that'll give you an idea as to what this tank is actually like, along with some of the tech tree vehicles in the coming days as well. But key thing is next week's operation, and this is one of the things that is the best thing that you can take advantage of in the game if you are interested in earning that silver, so that you can pay for some equipment. Maybe you want to get some camos on a load of your vehicles for 30 days. Maybe you want to go out and you want to purchase new tanks or modules, or you want to go back and buy some of the tanks. This operation is absolutely ridiculous, and it is, of course, the silver with interest. And what Wargaming said is that you can now top up that silver before the Italian TDs, and what we'll try and do next weekend is that we'll do a live stream where you guys can have a look at how much we can make in a single stream. We'll probably be doing it for a couple of hours, maybe even 3 or 4. I might extend it and see how much silver we can earn in that period of time, since it is the most amount of silver I've ever earned in one singular battle was using this. And I'm going to give you a few tips as to how you can use it yourself. If you want to jump on tomorrow, we'll do a video dedicated onto how you can use it to the best of your ability during the week as well, so that will probably come out on Wednesday. But silver with interest, we've essentially got is much like the XP with interest. If you know what that is essentially every 1,000 XP that you earn, you'll get 150% silver. So that means an extra 50% silver essentially. And that means that you're able to earn 1.5 times silver for every 1,000 XP. Now, what you might realize is, wait a minute, surely maybe you can get 2,000 XP in one singular battle. Maybe you can even get 3,000 XP in one battle if you have premium time, if you have some of the bonuses also available to you, if you've completed the season pass and you've managed to get that extra 25% silver bonus at the end of it. And then you combine that all in, and therefore you end up with this XP amount of, say, 3,000 XP. Now, most operations in World of Tanks allow you to complete it once per battle, but the XP and the silver with interest allows you to complete it repeatedly, even if you are able to get, 3 lots of the operation done in one singular game, which means that you can earn 3 lots of plus 50%. What does that equal? Doesn't take a genius. 150% more XP. So basically an extra 1.5 times essentially the base amount of silver on top of your normal amount of silver that you earn. So what does that mean? Well, essentially, the more XP you can amass, the more silver you get, and therefore if you perform better, you're going to end up with more silver. If you're playing in tanks that are premium tanks that have a base XP bonus, and also tanks that have a decent silver bonus in the first place, you might get 100,000 base XP, silver even in your game. Now, if you've got this XP with interest operation, you get 3,000 XP. You're therefore able to get an extra 150,000 silver, so you end up with 250,000 silver, for example. Now, that might sound amazing, but there is also some brilliant ways of increasing this, and this is essentially to do with the XP boosters that you might have on your account from the season pass, from challenges, from operations, and they're basically given out by Wargaming quite often. And essentially with the silver with interest operation, you can use your times 5 XP boost if you have them, or just the highest amount of silver XP boosters that you have, and that is going to be able to for example, you get 1000 base XP. You then get a 5 times booster, means you complete that operation 5 times, and that means that you get 2.5 times XP silver on top of that original silver amount. So with this, I was able to then grant myself like 4 million silver in one singular game where I was using times 5 XP boosters. I'd completed the end of the season pass, so we got an extra 25% XP and also the extra 25% silver, both of which give you more silver. And then you can add on things like, if you have premium time, gives you an extra 50% more silver, and this all accumulates to the point where you're earning like 10 times the silver that you would do in a standard game. And it allowed me to get, like 4 million silver when I was playing in a Cold War premium vehicle, where you're able to earn, 400,000 silver without any bonuses on. And then what you can do on top of that is you can run times 2 silver bonuses on top of the times 5 XP bonuses to earn an extra 200% silver. So it is absolutely crazy the amount of silver that you can earn with this operation, and that is why I really implore you guys, if you do want to be able to farm up millions and millions and millions of silver per hour, and I'm talking per hour, it will save you so much time in the long run, and it is really, really crucial that you use those times, 5 XP boosters. Maybe use the times 4s or times 3s or even the times 2 if you have them available and you're not necessarily wanting to save them for a future XP with interest operation, which Wargaming do, which will give you the same sort of figures, but they'll give you them in XP and obviously toned down because you earn more silver in the game than you do XP. But the precedent still stands with that, you accumulate so many completions of this operation that it becomes ridiculous, and I genuinely have been able to earn millions of silver every single game, especially when playing Cold War. And obviously, even if you're playing the World War II mode, you can still earn up to like 1 million silver in a game if you have a good one in a premium vehicle. And even if you're playing, standard vehicles at tier 10, you can probably still earn, couple 100,000 silver every single game. Of course, you are using the times 5 XP boosters, so it becomes a little bit pointless. But obviously, if you're grinding through and you're wanting to earn silver at the same time, this is amazing and probably one of the best things that you can do. So yeah, definitely give this a little bit of a thought and think about using it in the next week. And it is usually available for about 7 days. So yeah, just farm it up. We're going to do a live stream on Friday, so feel free to join us in that live stream and you can see exactly how much we're earning, and maybe when you might want to do it on Friday, during the weekend, on Saturday, Sunday, because this will be available until Tuesday the following week in the morning. So as soon as it goes live at about 10 o'clock in the UK time, so I don't know what that is in US time, but I'm assuming it'll be as soon as you wake up, basically, for anyone that doesn't go to bed like a night owl. And that's just going to be really, really nice, and definitely one of the best operations. I'm really happy Wargaming do these sorts of things. I think it's very, very good that we get them on console. It doesn't happen on PC. It doesn't happen on Blitz, I don't think. You could fact check me if I'm wrong, but it definitely doesn't happen on PC. So just, definitely take advantage of it. But moving on, we do have a few other things, and that is that there is a Swedish National Day, so you can pick up a free vehicle. It's not a great one. We can jump over to the dedicated news article that's on screen right now, which is Celebrate the National Day of Sweden. So essentially between the 30th of May, which is obviously tomorrow if you're watching this on release, or it will be actually when you're watching this, this is essentially an extra premium that you can get, and it is really, really simple to complete. All you have to do is deal a total of 500 or more direct and assistance damage in 5 battles. And then the second stage is, for the second day, is deal a total of 500 or more direct and assistant damage in 5 battles, and that will give you the tier 3 light tank. Yay, such a great one. But yeah, I mean, it's free stuff. It's a 2D standard commander, and of course a light tank. So it's nice to have for free. And then they're also bringing out Swedish vehicle bundles, where you can pick up 50% off of all of the vehicles, essentially on the Swedish premium line. I mean, here we have tier 9 vehicles all the way down to tier 6. And it is basically all of the premium vehicles for Sweden. It does cost an absolute fortune, 49,900 gold, which is definitely not worth it considering some of these are a little bit lackluster and some of them are exactly the same tank. I don't know if they've given the STRV S1 both versions. It doesn't look like it, so you don't get all of the tanks, even though it's just basically a skinned version of the same tank. But if you're not a big baller and you want to just pay for smaller amounts of tanks, then you can use the 14,000 gold bundle, which is the STRV-K, so that's the tier 9 medium that recently got buffed, so we'll be looking at that in the next coming days, so that you guys get an idea and maybe you want to purchase it, I don't know. And then there's also the Earthshaker STRV-102, so this is the Hesh firing, almost like a Dragon, but it is the Centurion version. It's very, very powerful, very good, and definitely has a lot more armor than the Dragon, but is much bigger. So yeah, not a bad price if you get the tier 9 and the tier 8 in it, but I'm sure some of you have this STRV-K for free as it was released as part of an earn operation. Maybe we'll get a free earn operation for the same tank at some point in the future, bear that in mind, but it's not guaranteed, and of course, you never know, and if you really want it, then, you're going to have to accept the fact that it might come out for free in the future. Then we have our own, which is the STRV S1, so this is the TD and the Barracuda, and that's 11,000 gold. I probably wouldn't pay that. It's very expensive, and like the Emil 51 is decent. It's not super OP. It's very good. It's good. It's decent. And the STRV S1 is good as well. But yeah, I mean, there's probably better tanks you could buy. And then the final one is the Dragon and the STRV M40-257. So this is the auto-loading tier 6 Swedish vehicle. And this one is actually very good. Both of these are super, super good for the tiers that they're in. And it's only 6,000 gold. So if I was going to say any of the bundles that are available here, I would recommend the Landskrona's Flanker. So yeah, this one, definitely the best one. I've butchered the name, I already know. I apologise for any Swedish people that may be watching this on the odd occasion, but there we go. That is definitely the best bundle out of the lot of them, and I guess we could give it a go and let you know which ones are the best ones. And then if you are watching this currently and you're going to be playing for the next day, then yeah, you essentially have a little bit of time left to get that 3 times vehicle XP for this weekend as part of Memorial Day. But of course, yeah, that is it's going to end today. So if you aren't playing today, then unfortunately, you're not going to be able to utilize it. But moving on, we then have the information that was actually released, and that is essentially some Q&As, and these are always the interesting part. I always find it interesting to see what Wargaming are answering with regards to the questions that they're given. And so first things first is, can you do a roadmap or something to show players what's going on throughout the year? So I really like this idea. I think it's a good thing to do, but what Wargaming is saying is that their promising content and things to expect will make it very difficult for us to stay on track, because sometimes we will have to reschedule things. An example is the Italian TDs. We announced those and we had issues, and the double barrel tanks too, so delivering on a roadmap is kind of difficult. We can't always make sure we're on track, and we have to shift our schedules constantly. So I agree that, it's hard to give you a precise date for something, but it'd be nice to see what they're expecting for the year. Even if they just said, we're going to have the Italian TDs, we're going to have the Russian double barrels or the Soviet double barrel tanks in the game, and that is what is going to be in 2023. I mean, you don't have to give a specific date. As it comes through the year, at least we get an indication as to, it looks like we're going to get 2 new tank lines, looks like we're going to get a new tank line, and just something formal to say, look, this is the content that we're working on for the year. Hopefully, you don't have to give the precise things, but even if it's just, there'll be a new tech tree in Cold War for you guys to play. There'll be a few new premiums coming out on Cold War during this year. There'll be 3 maps that we're hoping to get out. Obviously, don't take this as a certain, but yeah, I feel like that would be a good thing to do, but it seems like a very kind of an easy escape to just say that, we have things that are, things that, it could potentially come, but we're not going to tell you because, we may not actually produce it. It's like, it just seems a bit of an easy escape for them to say that, and hopefully we'll actually get something just saying, this is the rough idea for what we're doing. Hopefully you guys agree, and at that point we can give our input, like, why are you doing this or whatever, and we can get a bit of feedback before they actually start developing things. But but they'd rather develop something, release it, and people go, oh, this is terrible, why did you do this? And then they go, oh, well, it's gonna be in the game now because it's in the game, and they give us no indication that it's coming. It's not actually something the players want. It would be just nice for them to say, look, we're thinking about this, hopefully you guys agree. If you don't, please let us know now so that we don't just waste our time developing something you guys hate and they're not going to use. But apparently that's too difficult for them, and I would 100% try and make it a bit more transparent. You don't have to give us all the details. You don't have to say when, just something to say, look, this is what we're hoping to do. Do you guys agree with it? What sort of things would you like us to see? Hopefully we can get out 2 new tech trees for World War II. Hopefully we can get out 1 new tech tree for Cold War. Hopefully we can bring out a few new premiums. And of course, give us an indication as to maps or the sort of content that we're hoping for the year. And you can just give the caveat that it may not all get done, but this is the sort of things you'll expect in the next year or two. Seems much better, and I don't know why they haven't done that already. It just gives the community a little bit of an idea as to what's coming, and they can prepare for themselves, this is going to be cool. I'm making sure that I'm going to be playing for the next X amount of time to make sure that I can play these things when they come into the game. But yeah, I don't know. That's just my opinion. I'd much rather see that. So that was definitely an interesting question. One of the good ones that I don't think they've answered recently. So yeah, it's nice to see that. And unfortunately, we don't get the actual response that we wanted, or even just it was just, I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Can we add a tab in the garage menu to see when your clanmates are online? It's a good idea, and we can certainly consider this. We have some ideas for next year that might be a bit more clan orientated. You know what? Exactly the sort of question that is nice to see. Yes, it would be super, super cool to see clanmates. There is nothing really in the game that really gives you anything about your clan. I don't know if, 2 people are online in my clan. I don't know who's active in the clan, unless, of course, you go onto some third-party website to check if they're actually, playing the game when they last logged in, etc. I mean, it's not an intuitive system, and it would be much better for, even community clans and stuff like that to have that. But the sort of thing that I was talking about for the first question, though, is, look, they've said we have some ideas for next year that might be a bit more clan orientated. This sort of stuff could just be given in a brief of what they're hoping to do in the next development cycle for the game. This sort of stuff, super, super good, super helpful. Do we need to go to Discord to see a community post about it? No, it would be much better if they give us an actual, this is the sort of things we're looking at, like we said with the roadmap, but apparently too hard for them. Is it possible to make tanks stats previewable and change depending on what equipment and crew skills we're looking at? So this is certainly an interesting idea. That's definitely something we can consider for the future. So for example, in your stat screen, it will say the base value, and then it will give you the bonus that you're getting from your crew skills. Really, really simple, super good. They have it on PC, would be good to have in the game. Definitely would be interesting to have. Could we make a filter tab in World War II and Cold War independent? It's lower on the priority list, but we can get an investigation ticket on that to follow up. Could we return the contract compatible tank filter? I think it's a good idea, and we should definitely bring that back. We will investigate it and see what we can do. Also, very, very good thing to have. Can we get a nations and tier tab on the stats page? I do think that's a good idea, but I think it's a long time coming, as this is another quality of life improvement, and we would likely bring a bunch of them in a bigger update. So yeah, I'm not surprised. That would be cool to have in there. Can you make it so custom games allow you to have Cold War versus World War II? Right now, the game is not set up to merge the garages together, so once you pick World War II, the lobby will default itself to World War II. The idea of being able to play World War II and Cold War is something I'd love to see. This would be cool, definitely for custom games, so hopefully they'll be able to do it. But it is very low on their priority of things to do. But once again, a good idea. I agree. Definitely something that would be interesting. Will we ever have a new game modes in the game? Yes, very much yes. And there's more news to share with you next season. Our super testers may already had some time with a new game mode idea. awesome. This is something I've been wanting for ages, something new, exciting, something that is, even if it's just a limited time event where, you know, you're playing like lower amount of players in a match, or something like where you're having bigger maps, or something that's like you can have more damage in a single match, like for every tank available. So, you know, tanks are doing 1.5 times the damage just for this limited time event. It's only an event game mode. It's not the main game, so you can still play the normal game. It's just like an additional thing. I think it would be cool to have, and you know, if you bring it in a limited time event, it doesn't hinder the matchmaker as much because there's not so many people playing that thing all in one go, and it puts less strain over the times because you're not splitting the player base over the entirety of the time that these things are available. And yeah, I think it would be nice to have. It would be enjoyable, it'd be cool to see, and it'd be something interesting. It does get boring playing the exact same thing every single time, and when people have reached over 100,000 battles, there's tons of people have at this point. Yeah, I'm sure people will be very interested to see some new sorts of game modes, and I think this is super cool. But of course, that's before previewing the actual game mode, so we have no idea what it really is, and it could be something completely trash. So I'm not going to say that this is good, what game mode they're bringing in, but the fact that they're bringing in a new game mode, super good. Is it possible to have smokescreen added to World War II so there isn't any discussions or made in tickets about adding smoke? And a lot of chat right now are saying keep this as a Cold War feature. I think that is the best idea. I don't think that you want the World War II smoke in the game. I think it would be kind of a little bit crap. And yeah, I mean, it just doesn't work with the camo mechanics that they have in the game. So I just don't think it's there's any point to it. And I think it would just be more of a hindrance than an actual benefit, to be honest. So I'm in agreement with Wargaming on this one for once. When will there be new mechanics in Cold War? So they're thinking of brainstorming about new things and want to try. We've heard you guys talk about thermal optics and ATGMs exploding overhead. So we get some ideas into test first and see how these things play out. I think this is cool. It's nice to say that they're actually coming out with information that is good and interesting. This seems like one of the best Q&As that they've actually done, and definitely one of the ones that I think the right sort of questions have been asked, rather than like, can we have a pink tank in the game as standard as a premium or something like that with a skin? You know, much better questions. Can the efficiency of RB-RT autolock be nerfed so they can follow up with another investigation? We looked at this a few months ago with engineering, but this is a very difficult task right now. The autolock is fixated on the central root of a tank, and some tanks can deal with this better than others. So for example, tanks with APCR will do better when they are using the autolock because the round hits faster towards the target, because if you're looking at the center of a tank traveling, if they're horizontal to you, your round is going to go in much quicker. That means that by the time it actually, when you fire and when the tank actually moves and the round actually hits where you were aiming at, that you'll basically be able to hit more of the tank, and therefore you end up hitting. Obviously, if you're using really slow rounds, HE, AP, things like that, heat that are slow, when you're aiming at a tank on auto aiming, it essentially just misses every single time because, of course, the tanks are moving faster, and you're not actually aiming and leading your shots so that they land at the same time, so you're not actually going to be able to hit them. So it seems like a really convoluted way of saying that. Hopefully you got the idea. Anyway, so maybe we'll put a video on that, so you guys know what to do, obviously, and obviously you don't have to watch that if you know what it is, and I'm not going to try and teach you to suck eggs or anything. But anyway, moving on. Can Cold War tanks have the gravity adjusted back to normal in custom games? So custom games is quite low on our to-do list, so I'm not surprised. But it would be something cool to add. I agree, definitely something that would be cool, but not necessarily anywhere near a priority for them. Can Cold War tanks, or could base capping become impossible until like the final 5 minutes? So we get that in the early base capping can lead to poor matches, you don't say. Sometimes as those YOLO players that YOLO into the cap and then win the game in like 2 minutes can end very quickly, and we'll think about the ways that we can address this base capturing, like base capturing doesn't start until X number of minutes or until there's X number of tanks left in a match. We'll make a ticket to think about this. I think this is something that is definitely something that they should be looking at. It's super annoying when a game ends in like 2 minutes and neither side actually ends up with any real amount of XP or anything like that. It just sucks. I mean, it should be something that we should just get automatically done and sorted, and that we don't have to deal with the fact that we're going to end up with like 100 XP because the game lasted a minute, even though you won. Technically won, if you know what I mean, by actually basically both sides losing because one side capped in a minute. Yeah, I mean, you end up with no XP by doing that, and yeah, if you're a base capper at the beginning of the game, please stop. Please stop. Please. Anyway, moving swiftly onwards. Can we get the old aiming reticle back as an option? So they started bringing some elements back, but in terms of reticle, we will most likely not get a customizable option as hard to request to develop for. However, we can look at this for a happy medium that makes players happy with the current one and bringing back some old elements. In my opinion, yep, definitely something that could be interesting. The next one is, do you have plans to allow players to switch between the new and old HUD similar to the garage? So the garage feature was fairly simple as there was no difference in HUD, but customizable HUD option is highly unlikely. We can try to bring back some elements of the old HUD features and incorporate them in the new one we have now. In my opinion, I would just not bother with that. It's gone past the point of kind of saving the HUD from what everyone hated, and now people have got used to it. You're going to change it again, bring some elements back, people are going to get triggered. You're just going to cause more problems than what it was worth, and I think at this point you've just got to stick it out. Obviously, you're not going to develop another HUD for some reason. They said that they were going to, and then apparently they're not going to now. But yeah, I mean, it's not going to come, and in my opinion, you're just going to annoy more people by changing it now. So just make as good of a HUD as you can possibly make, and then it doesn't matter. People are going to be happy. People are going to hate it either way, let's be honest. Unless, of course, we have customizable HUD. And if you're not going to do that, then I wouldn't bother changing anything, in my opinion. Obviously, maybe you have a difference in opinion, and yeah, I think that would be interesting to see in the comment section down below. But moving on, is there a possibility to make the mini-match larger? So larger by default, no, but we know PC allows you to increase it, and this would be good to have. Essentially, they're going to pass it on to the engineer or the UI team to see if this is something that can be done, but they think there'll be performance issues, so obviously they don't want to affect some of the older consoles. I'm sure the newer consoles can deal with that more than capable, but of course, World of Tanks console is developed for both PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox One S, Xbox One X, Xbox Series S, and Xbox Series X. So yeah, they just have to make sure that anything they do is like to the lowest limit or the maximum limit of the like worst console, basically, in terms of like performance wise, so that it works. Because if it works for the worst, it's going to work for the best. So yeah, unfortunately we are limited by what the older generation consoles are, but given the fact that when I load into a game, you can see who has an older console by, for example, when I log in on my Xbox Series X, it loads in super quickly. You can see who hasn't got a newer console, and it is probably the majority of players. So I'm not surprised considering some of the prices in the newer consoles, but that's a completely different topic. But yeah, definitely more of a performance issue, and it's probably why we don't see a lot of extra things coming into the game, because it is just limited. It's the reason we don't have bushes, it's the reason we don't have a lot of that sort of stuff. But yeah, unfortunately that's the case. But yeah, moving on, we then have the final bit, which is, can the medals tab be removed and reintegrated on the results screen like it was before 6.0? So they've talked about it, and we've had some mock-ups as how this can be merged, like the old reward carousel of all medals popping on the screen, and they're actively thinking about, but they haven't gotten that ETA, they're just kind of going through the motions, seeing what looks good, and of course they'll come up with something and hopefully bring it back in. So all good with me. I think this was one of the best Q&As I think I've ever seen, in terms of the questions that were asked, the selection of questions that were actually answered, and we got some interesting topics back. Maybe not all that we wanted to hear, but at least there's some more kind of transparency on some of the actual development that we're getting on console. And like I say, with the very first point, just make it super transparent as to what they're working on. It just makes it so much easier in the long run, as to, we're expecting this. We're not going to tell you the specifics. we're just going to give you an idea as to what it's going to be, what sort of things we're looking at, and then, you know, the community can give instant feedback rather than like, oh, we've done this, here it is, you're going to have to deal with it because we spent money developing it, and then it's on a plate, you either hate it or you like it, it doesn't matter what you think because it's in the game. I think that would be something that would be very beneficial to the company as a whole, but yeah, maybe we will see that at a later date, but hopefully we will see a proper or just like a rough schedule of what they're hoping to do, but that's just my opinion. Anyway, hopefully you did enjoy this. Of course, make sure to make use of the silver with interest, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of the day. Don't forget to let me know what you actually think about all of this, because at the end of the day, I'm just one player. There are many of them on the game. My opinion means absolutely nothing more than your guys's. So yeah, just stay tuned and keep up to date with some of the other content that's going to be coming out. We do, of course, have the CDC review, some of these tanks that have been rehashed and redesigned and stuff like that. And of course, we'll be doing a stream on Friday this week where we look at that silver with interest operation, which is going to be super, super good. So thank you for joining. And of course, as always, I hope you have a fantastic rest of the day and fantastic rest of next week. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.